So hello, welcome back to another spotlight in the series. Today I have Vanessa with me. She's a third year medic at Queen's University in Belfast. So I think the first person we've had over in Belfast was exciting. Hi, Vanessa.
Hiya, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for giving up your time to share your story today.
No problem.
So if we start there, so yeah, tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Vanessa. Yeah, I'm from the north. So County Down. My journey to medicine definitely has not been straightforward. Do you want me to start there? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Um, I think everybody says that when they start your videos, Amber, but it
Mm-hmm.
definitely hasn't. For me, I think if I go back to secondary school more so,
Mm-hmm.
love GCSEs. I'm sure most medics kind of love that. You did lots of a variety of subjects. I was like master, what is it, jack of all trades, master of
Yeah.
none.
Mm-hmm.
Loved GCSEs, and then all of a sudden I felt like the narrative just changed, and it was lower six, and everybody was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, no, I just want
Mm-hmm.
to do loads of subjects."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, around that time I was really confused. I had no idea what I wanted to do. My family's mostly teachers. There's really not many medics. I've one uncle who's a doctor, so never really been introduced to healthcare. So I just chose random subjects, still had no idea. And then around that time, my cousin took very unwell. So he was 19 and had a cardiac arrest. He found out he
Okay.
then had Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. Probably
Mm-hmm.
one of those tiny things, you
Yeah.
sometimes see in a blurb in book.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, then I started spending obviously a lot more time in hospitals. So
Mm-hmm.
he was in the Royal, then he went to a brain injury unit for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he's now got locked in syndrome. So
Okay.
a massive
Yeah.
lifestyle change,
Mm-hmm.
paralyzed from the neck down. But it was only through that. So this is the time that I'm doing my levels that I started to see like even carers in the community coming into him. And I was like, oh, well, that kind of interests me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so then it came to upper six, and I was like, okay, I better apply for something. I have no idea. And I applied for the Dundee pre-med program because I didn't have the right science
Okay.
subjects. I did like maths and everything. And then I did get in, but I couldn't really go. I went for the open day, and to be honest, couldn't just afford it. It was, I know you
Mm-hmm.
probably agree yourself, medicine's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And Dundee, I think it was working out like, say your loan was like 3 grand. I think the accommodation was six. So already I was like,
Mm-hmm.
don't know how I'm going to do this. And it wasn't just 100% set. I didn't have that much experience or anything. And I was like, I just had this really gut feeling. I've always gone with my gut, like, no, I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
take a break. So then I went to tech to do biology and chemistry. And this is a bit of a regret. I think at this point,
Mm-hmm.
looking back, I was just burnt out. I'm sure every med student has the same thing. Once you get to A levels, you just need a break. Yet, like typical Irish family, your mum and dad are like, "You stay in education because you'll never go back into it."
Mm-hmm.
Look at me now.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that well in tech. I went out with my friends in Belfast. But looking back now, that's when I started my job as a carer in the community. So,
Mm-hmm.
some positives to go with it. And I absolutely loved that. I just really loved looking after people.
Mm-hmm.
Got to know loads of people locally in my community that obviously are well in their 80s and 90s that I never would have met otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I didn't do well in tech that year. I got into teaching college. As I
Okay.
said, my whole family are teachers. By this point, I still just didn't sit for a second to be like, what do I want to do? There was
Mm-hmm.
a post for secondary science with maths. My sister did it. My whole family are teachers. It's just the go-to route. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Was in like a couple of days, and I was like, this is not for me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a massive low. At this point, I was like, wow, I am never going to uni. Mind you, as well, when I was in school, I was friends with everybody. I was on every single team there could be within music,
Mm-hmm.
sports. I was deputy head girl. So to go from that to now still
Yeah.
not being in uni, being a dropout, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know what to do. So I sent my old VP an email, Miss Devlin, who was amazing. My school was amazing, by the way. It was an
Mm-hmm.
all girls school. She gets a lot of
Yeah.
stick, but I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was amazing. She took me in, and I just laid it out for her. I was like, listen, it's kind of messed up. Probably should have taken a year out. These are my options. I'm thinking of medicine, but I can't get into medicine straight away without doing another degree now.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, do you want to start tomorrow to come back to school? And I was like, whoa, okay. So I
Okay.
came back the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I did AS and A2 chemistry at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I did AS biology. Um, it was mortifying at first. I remember the first time I sat down in the AS chemistry class, one of the teachers said, okay, this is Vanessa. Vanessa, do you want to tell everybody what you did and why they shouldn't do that? And I was like, wanted the ground to swallow me whole.
Yeah, okay.
The little things you don't think, you know, so you're in your normal clothes. When a class starts at like 10 and you're standing outside the room, everybody in the school's walking past you to go to their class, whispering, being like, was she not? Did she? And you just kind of want. But anyways, it was, again, during that time, I then was working as a carer for longer. I made really good friends with a family that I cared for and did private work for them. She was actually palliative, and I cared for her right until she passed away about 2 years ago. So as much as it seemed like a backstep, I was gaining more and more momentum as to why I would want to do medicine. And then I got into biomedical science in Queen's, and again, loved that. But really, I kind of did that degree because I was like, you know what, I might find something in this. I love science. Here's hoping I find a niche of this, and maybe don't want to do medicine. But I just missed the patient contact so much within the degree. I loved learning the science behind pathologies and things. And then I was like, okay, where's the patient? Like, you know, I want to chat to a patient. But then other positives from that too. I did a lot of traveling when I was doing that degree. I did a J1 summer abroad in San Francisco, played football for Queen's, did Asia with my friends. So, and then I also at that point transferred over to working in the hospitals with the agency that I work with. So like over those 2 years, I've worked in so many nursing homes, residential homes, literally name every ward in a hospital. I've worked in it, you know, so got loads of experience. And then it came around to finally applying for medicine. And I was like, no, I just had this like settling feeling like this is 100% what I want to do. I felt so mature applying for it compared to, I often think had I got in after school, I would have failed or repeated the year or just, you know, not had the same appreciation for it. Whereas, yeah, then I got an interview. I remember always saying, if I get an interview, I'm getting in. Like, that's in my control now. And the interview, I remember, like, you know, when you say everything's aligned, like, so I went up, and I'll not release the MMIs because, you know, they're very funny about that. I think they were about 3 years ago. But the first scenario was to do with like a nursing home resident. And I was like, this is easy. You know, I felt like I didn't even have to pretend. I felt like I was just at work. Even my personal statement this time, it was easy. You know, it's just like, I want to do medicine because So yeah, so now I fast forward, I'm in third year medicine. Can't believe I'm in third year. I'm sure that you're the same. Slow.
Yeah,
but yeah, sorry, a bit of a the beginning goes slow. At the start, you think I'm going to be first year forever, and then people say, "Are you third year medic?" You're like, "No, not me.
I can't be. Surely not."
No.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So there is a lot going on there. But kind of like you said, all your experiences have like undoubtedly fed into medicine now. So they all sound, especially, you know, working in nursing home and in the wards and hospital, it's so valuable for medicine. Just to go back, so how long was it between when you first left school to then when you went back and did the biology and chemistry A levels?
So just a year. So I took a year out. I took a year. So as soon as I left school, I went to tech, didn't do well. And then the following year I got into that teaching course, and that October. So I started a little later that year. I went back to school. So I started my biomedical science degree 2 years after I left school. Okay.
It's actually really similar. So I did the same. I didn't do biology and chemistry A level. I took a year out. I think I was going to go do psychology, and then I was like, I don't think that's for me. And I sat biology and chemistry A levels at my sixth form. They let me back in, and then got that qualification to do biochemistry instead of biomedical. So really similar, actually, really similar. How did you find, so did you go into school for like all the lessons? And
and that was hard in itself. You kind of went from knowing everybody in school to then being like eating your lunch in your car, and you know, it's not the nicest. It wasn't glamorous. But what about you? How did you find it?
So I just sat my exams at the school, so I self-studied at home, but then I would have to go in for the practicals for biology and chemistry, but I wouldn't get the practice. I would just get the exam one, so I'd just come in, I wouldn't know where anything was, and like exactly like you said, everyone would be looking at me like, who's this person, why are they you know, in our practical. But I think it was such good experience leading on to like university and self-studying and motivation. And I think once you found something that you want to do because you want to do it rather than feeling like you should, or it does change the motivation.
Absolutely. And like experiencing knockbacks that early I find really useful, because any knockback since I'm like, okay, what's this teaching me? Just as you say there as well about what career should I do. I should definitely mention my mum and dad. So I think part of the reason why I've never really felt rushed to get in a career path is mum and dad from a young age constantly instilled in me, like, we don't care what you do. And they really didn't, as long as you're happy, quoting that John Lennon, the way he says that. But so like my mum did her PGC when she was 40. So after having all of us, she was my classroom assistant, and then my dad, he worked in a factory and then did night courses to become a journalist in his late 30s. So to me, like, my mum's now 59, so she's been a teacher for 19 years, and she's like, Vanessa, I love it, but it's long enough. You don't find the job you love till your late 50s. You've still a long time to work at it. So yeah, I've never had that fear. Even if I turned around tomorrow and said, no, I don't want to do medicine, Mum, I want to pick pebbles off the beach, she'd be like, okay, as long as you're happy.
And I think it's hard to pinpoint exactly the effect that has, because that feeling like when in school and everyone's like, oh, what are you going to pick, where are you going to go? It's really hard, especially at that age, to be like, oh, to say, well, who knows, and maybe this, like, it feels like life is going to finish, or it's going to be over if you don't make those decisions. And having just reassuring ear of it's makes such a big difference.
It's the narrowing down for me really got me in school. At one point it was like, be the master of all these subjects, do your languages, do this, and then they're like, okay, choose 3, and you're like, what? Are you serious? I just couldn't get my head around it. I literally loved every single subject in school. I really, when you do your GCSE parent teacher meeting, I was really like head in my hands talking to every teacher, being like, I want to do your subject, you sold me.
Was the because I've heard have you heard of the IB, or the International Baccalaureate? So I think it's maybe some like international schools do it, or it's not as common, but you can do it. I've heard of in the UK, and it's kind of like a lot more subjects you do rather than 3 for A level, but you get qualifications that are equal to A levels, or that you can apply to uni with. But it's
I needed
different.
You back then, Amber.
Who knows where you'd be, what?
Who knows?
So have you kept up any of those subjects alongside medicine? Any languages, or any history programs, or?
Well, I've kept up a lot of my teams from school still. So I was in loads of music teams and dance, or not even dance, sorry, I was in one dance team, like football and things. So I still play football part-time, still dabble a little bit in languages. So I did Irish, and I'm trying to get back into Spanish and things. Duolingo's fab app, sorry to broadcast, but that's what, I was kind of doing that. Very much into my fitness still. That's one thing I think as well, that despite not being in medicine from the get-go, I've like developed a lot of life skills around it, lots of hobbies. I'm sure you're similar too, kind of know how to have a routine, know how to go to work, whereas I think it just would have been a lost puppy had I got into medicine straight away.
And there's quite a lot asked of you, and a lot of different things to build on, and a lot of skills that you kind of need to pick up quite quickly. But now you'll be coming to them, your science from previous degree, and then a lot of communication and patient skills from a lot of the care work. So have you found that that's made it, I don't know, not easy but easier, or have you found that you're able to bring those skills into the course?
1000%. I don't remember much from biomedical science. I don't know about you in biochemistry. It seems to have literally left me, because there's a lot of cramming in final year. I don't know what way yours work with biochemistry, but we had a dissertation to do. So you were focused so much on that in a very niche area. Mine's MS. And so a lot of that stays with you, definitely, out of fear, I think. But definitely the caring has been the best thing I've ever done. And that would be my top tip. I know your top tips are near the end, probably, for anybody doing medicine. If you want to know, even if you're not sure if you want to do that, there's so many healthcare professions. So even to go and do a bit of caring, see if you actually like patients. It's okay if you don't like working with patients. I love it, but some people don't. But even like little things, you know, last year obviously was a lot more online learning. I don't really do well with just reading text off slides. But for example, like heart failure, I would find that hard to learn without, every time I read that, I think of a patient in one of the nursing homes here. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so I have to weigh her every day. Oh yeah, 'cause she was on furosemide. Oh yeah, and then she was on fluid restriction. Oh yeah, and her legs were swollen. You know, she had to put them up. I'm constantly, I've like a patient in mind for so many different things, and it just helps so much more, you know?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard people that have been clinical years try to go back to the kind of lecture-based learning, and they're like, how do you remember anything when you don't have patients to connect it to? And I think until you are able to do that, you kind of think, well, I can't make that much, you know, difference. But it does, like, really does anchor it. You do remember them, but even if you have a, you know, half an hour conversation, they do, you know, they do form a big part of your learning.
Absolutely, yeah.
So going back a little bit again, so your degree in biomedical, and then was medicine still the plan during that degree?
Yeah. I remember, like, when I first met people in biomed, there were a lot of people saying, oh, you're doing biomed, have you plans to do medicine afterwards? And I said, that's the plan, but if I find something else within this that I like, then it's not. I think everyone's kind of secretly hoping some other plan comes up for handiness. You know, you're thinking another 8 years here, and that's when I qualify. After I qualify, there's so many more, but it just stood out like a sore thumb for me, and it really instilled in me. The more that I went through biomed, I was like, you know, even when you saw medics in the university, I was like, I'm really jealous of them. And I had a couple of friends that were doing medicine, and you know, when you're like, how was your day? I was so enthralled. I was like, tell me what you did today. I want to know.
Yeah. I want to do that. That's going to be me one day.
That, yeah.
And then, so did you then go through the application process in your like final year of the undergrad?
Yeah.
And how
it wasn't too.
Okay. Pardon? And like, just gonna say, can you tell me a bit more about that?
Oh yeah, sorry. It wasn't too difficult. I think I was quite easygoing about it. You know, I'm very much a strong believer in everything happens for a reason. So if I don't get in, everything so far up to that point has been perfect timing for me. So what did I do? I did my UCAT. Can't even remember when I did that. It's before October, isn't it, when you apply? Personal statement was done well in advance, and that was the one thing I'd urge anybody to do, like auxiliary nurse, even work for an agency. I was able to write so much, you know, on my personal statement. It is easy peasy. Also did like a couple of like first aid courses and things just to kind of bump it up. But the variety, if anyone's writing a personal statement, definitely helps, you know. And then I applied for that. I got my interview. I didn't get a first round interview. I got a second round interview, but that's definitely to do with my grades. Queen's are very heavily grades based. I should note, by the way, so I applied, I can't remember where else I applied to. I applied to Queen's. I think I applied to Birmingham. But I wasn't really that set on going away, more finance than anything. So got my second round interview. That was about March time. Meanwhile, then the interviews came out on the same week that my dissertation was due. So it was like stress city. And then I found out, I think, the middle of April time. And then once I got my degree, so got a 2-1, that was like June time, then your place was confirmed.
Yeah, okay. So you were quite set going into the process of, you know, where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
And did you feel like so it's an undergraduate course. Did you feel that you were able to bring your experience in? Because I think with graduate courses, because you know, you've had more time before, there's more space for you to say why, you know, show examples of how you've got experience in medicine. But did you feel for an undergraduate that you were still able to, you know, show your experience?
Definitely, because Queen's is, I don't know if this is the same elsewhere. Queen's has like a lot of postgrads doing an undergrad, if you get me. I think it's something like a third.
Wow.
But I definitely feel like you have that room to kind of be like, yeah, I'm going up against some people leaving school, and no disrespect to them, but you know, I felt more confident in my answer to, if someone said, when you're filling out your personal statement a few years ago, like, why should we choose you? I would have been like, I'm not sure, you probably shouldn't. Whereas I was like, no, you definitely should. Here's my reasons. And then I also had a friend who, two of my friends were both applying to medicine, but one was, she didn't actually get into Queen's. So she was applying for the graduate. So she applied to, where is she? She's in Warwick. So we were all kind of going through the same process at the same time. So it was easy enough that sense.
Yeah. Because I think, depending if you don't know anyone going through the process, it's very, it's difficult. And, not at school, maybe you might know a few people.
And people are starting to now work in their full-time jobs, and you're saying that they're saying, well, I don't know if you get this, but the question I constantly get asked is, are you finished uni yet? And I'm like, why are you so obsessed? No, I'm never going to be finished. And even when people say, when are you going to be a doctor? I'm like, a million years. There you go.
Who knows? Who knows what will happen after the course? They're just like, oh, you're still at uni, still. Weren't you there last time we spoke? And you're like, it's quite a long course. But I think as long as you're, enjoying it, and
absolutely, then,
apart from the financial aspect, you're spending your day, you're learning, you still feel, I don't know what's like on your placement, but you're part of the team where you can be.
Definitely.
So can you just talk about the structure at Queen's a little bit, just for, if people don't, because med schools do vary quite a lot. So how when do you start clinical placement? Is it kind of CBL, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of the way medicine's laid out. I don't know about you. So typically in Queen's, first and second year is mostly like lectures. There is a bit of case-based learning, but it is mostly lectures. You have the odd placements. So like, in first year, it was maybe like a Thursday afternoon, we went to a GP clinic and maybe took someone's history for like cardiac investigation, something like that. But and then third, fourth, and fifth year is really when you get thrown out to your placements. So I'll be on placement for the rest of my degree. We have a couple of online lectures a week, but they're recorded, in case you want to do extra things in placements. So it's very much so much more self-directed. But I don't know, in work, I work with a lot of nurses, and I just prefer their degree layout. So like with nursing, you do like your start first year, you do 6 weeks, in uni, learn about something, then you go out in placement and put it to practice. And their whole degree is constantly like in uni, out in placement, in uni. Whereas I feel like for the first 2 years of university, we learned like theoretically, this is what a patient's like. And then they just kind of kick you out and are like, okay, go ahead. I don't know about you, but.
Yeah, I suppose I'd just always taken it as that's the way it was. And I think the patient-facing side of it was more out of my comfort zone. So I almost was kind of like, okay, if I can just do these 2 years, then I'll know what I'm doing. I still feel it's still a huge learning curve, but I think I felt maybe more reassured that I was learning stuff that I could know about. But I think it's becoming like more courses are introducing patient contact earlier and earlier, which you can't compare. You can't pair
not at all. And even I think medical students definitely are at a disadvantage in that. So nursing for your first placement, it is just personal care. So there's no real like your nursing skills involved. It's just like, okay, here's how you toilet a patient, here's how you feed a patient. And I honestly do think medical students were kind of thrown in, but I feel like you should have to work your way up. I just think it would be you the first time you meet patients, maybe on GP placements, you're taking like a full history. Well, why not learn how to, walk this patient out to the bathroom, or have like a real general lighthearted conversation? I just think even like a 2-week placement where, the healthcare assistants took you under the ring for 2 weeks, then maybe you had a placement where like you're just working with the nurses. I think it would make you appreciate it more, but it would also relax you, whereas now you're just thrown into like the ward round with like surgeons and doctors and like, whoa, I'm out of my depth here. I don't know. I feel for some of the younger medical students too, who've maybe never really been in contact with a patient. It's really overwhelming.
And I think so at Bristol we do a few HCA, so healthcare assistant shifts. Only we're supposed to do 3, but then there was COVID, and I think it's a great learning experience. I think it also helps you appreciate the roles other people do. So over the pandemic, I did work as a healthcare assistant for a little bit, and it's a hard job.
They're the hardest workers, and I'm saying it now, and I'm sticking to it. From being on placement now, like, I'm mentally tired, but I'm not physically. You leave a long day as a healthcare assistant, your back is broke, you are exhausted, you know.
Yeah, it's a really hard job, and because you're, again, like you said, mentally maybe you don't need to cover as much, but you still are interacting with people that are really unwell, and you still have to be aware to that, you know, and to their needs. And I think, sometimes if you've gone in from a very academic background into medicine as, you know, a medical student shadowing doctors, I think perhaps you don't learn some of the humanity in terms of washing someone and feeding them, because it's hard and it's quite uncomfortable at first if you're not sure how to hold someone. And I think I got quite little experience doing this, you know. I think it was so important. Have you ever considered any other healthcare careers outside of medicine?
I had, but they just never. I obviously considered nursing at some point, and I worked with a lot of nurses, and they're absolutely amazing, so underpaid. But I find, like, I love caring for people, but I want to treat them. Do you know what I mean? That was that was the clincher. Like, I love the science and biomedical science. I love learning how to treat people and, like, let's diagnose them. And I really, really want to help them. And I feel like I've done a lot of care inside. I'm like, okay, I still will have that with me. You know, I've been toileting people on placements. I don't really care. You're not really meant to, but, you know, I'll still always have that. But I just want to go an extra mile now and know how to actually resolve this. So no, bar nursing, I had thought about that. Physio or anything was never really came up for me. No.
Yeah, because they are so varied in them. But I think even what's great about medicine is you have that variation, you know, in terms of surgery or radiology, or, you know, if you want to do something a bit more hands-on, so you still get the variety to choose. So you said there's quite a lot of mature students on your course. Is there much interaction with them, or, like, how do you feel the cohort? I
think it's hard to say because of COVID. Probably the same with everybody. First year there's probably a lot more interaction, yet like last year was largely online. I'm enjoying placement a lot more, interacting with students. I feel like we're kind of on the same boat now. But I think it is what you make it. I'm a mature student, so I wouldn't say I have the best interactions probably compared to people who are 18 or 19. But I think it is what you make it, you know. So whatever teams you want to get involved in, don't feel pressured, you know, find the right people.
And are you part of, like, university societies? And
I was part of the football team. I haven't done it this year. It's just a lot of time commitment. And I signed up to a few things like scrubs, different things like that. But so
I think the opportunities are still there. It's just finding time to fit them all in.
Absolutely. You could sign up to, I think the typical thing is Freshers Week, you sign up to everything and never go to anything. Isn't that it? Here's a pound.
I remember my first year I signed up for the triathlon club. I didn't have a bike, didn't think I even had running shoes. But I was like, oh yeah, I might give this a go. Yeah, who knows? Who knows what I'll do? It's kind of catches an energy of, wow, I'm here. I could do anything.
I can do anything. Paragliding club, absolutely.
Which is a nice energy to capture, but perhaps not so realistic when you're trying to be on placement. So for your placement, how is it? Do you move around to different sites over the 3 years? How does it work?
Yes, it's a little bit different again with COVID. I feel like I'm just talking about COVID. It used to be that you would jump around a bit more. So third year is different now. I have a base ward, which I love. So at the minute I'm in neurosurgery for 7 weeks. But I have time within that to go to other clinics. Obviously it's quite niche. Then you'll stay within the same trust, and for the 7 weeks after that, I'll go to another base ward, and with another 14-week placement after that. Fourth year's a bit more choppy. Again, who knows what it'll be like next year? But you've like your set 4 weeks. You know, you need to do your obs and gynae, your mental health, your geriatric and things. And then fifth year, just I haven't really looked that far, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think by March time you're more or less qualified, and then you can do your assistantship.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
again, I feel like that's
Yeah. Because are your finals in your 5th year?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think somewhat for Bristol they're at the end of 4th year.
Yes, Liverpool I think is like that as well. Is your course 4 or 5 years?
So I'm on a 5-year undergrad as
You're on a 5 year. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think for some grad courses, their finals are like halfway through their 3rd, like just so soon. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And then do you get an elective in the 5th year as well?
So fingers crossed. So we get a student selected component every semester, and last year I chose a Spanish one. I didn't speak Spanish. I'd done it in school, but haven't done any since. Like didn't do it for A-level or anything. So that was tough. Loved doing things like that to myself, where I was like trying to study for exams and then learn a language. But I've kept up with it. So puts you in a good place to hopefully go to South America and do my elective. So that'll be the end of 4th year if everything's opened up. If not, I'll probably just go on holiday there.
Yeah.
What about, do you do electives? Sorry.
Yeah, so again, I think it's at the beginning of 5th year, / end of 4th year.
Yeah.
I haven't quite pinned it down yet, but I am trying to think what's the,
Go
I'm thinking
big.
maybe, so maybe like dive medicine, maybe.
Wow.
It's a thing. I know I need to explore it to know if it's something that I want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and because we have student selected components as well, and for the one at the end of 3rd year you can again make up your projects, and it's almost too much choice. Where do you what do I want to explore, what could I do, so I've got to kind of have a think about that.
Definitely scary. You have to apply soon. That's the other thing with medicine. It's the most organized degree, and like the amount of heart attack emails you get that says choose your elective, and you're like, I'm 3rd year, leave me alone.
Yeah, I can't think about that. Have you had all the like intercalation emails gone through, or choice like that time set?
Yeah, we had those. I was not up for intercalating. I feel like I've done my time. I don't know about you. I don't want to delay this any further.
A bit of both. I was thinking like there's a part of me that was like, well, a degree in a year, that's it's an opportunity. And then there's just so many interesting things, I could learn about this. But I think another year, another degree feels at this point, how much are you going to add, to your knowledge, to your learning, that you couldn't maybe use other resources to learn about. But there was a moment of consideration.
Definitely.
And then
I was the same with clinical anatomy. I was like, oh, I love anatomy. But I think, I don't know if this is the same with you, we used to get like extra points, for doing a degree. They're starting to kind of scrap that a little bit. So that's better for us probably. We love our degrees. So
it's just really, I think it's just such a like privileged environment to be able to just learn about things. And yes, there's pressures and there's deadlines and there's exams, but really it's quite indulgent in that you are just able to to learn and to pick up skills and to challenge yourself. But there has to be a limit. You have to work sometime, I suppose.
I have to do my job at some point.
And I think as well, the learning part is fun, but especially with something like medicine, you really don't stop learning, do you? It's
never.
So can't put that off. Can't put that off forever.
I told myself I'm graduating in 2024, and I am.
And then so for applying, are you looking to stay in the same area for 2 foundation years?
I've no idea at the minute. I would be happy enough to go over. I know London's it's difficult to get into. Here's not that difficult to get into. I'm not too worried about my foundation years where I practice, because you can travel around them. But I am thinking of doing like the F3 year, where you don't do anything. I really want to go to Australia or New Zealand and work for a while. So that's one thing I'm definitely set on. Whereas I think F1 and F2 are just a grind. So part of me is considering staying at home. I think you need a lot of support. They're difficult years. So I don't know, I'll see close to the time. I might completely change my answer by the time.
Of course. And just thinking about the future, with obviously the caveat that who really knows, any specialities that you've got in mind? You've obviously had experience, in palliative care and nursing. Is that like nursing homes? Is that something that you'd want to continue with?
I love palliative care. I don't think it would be a career for me. I think you'll always have patients that are, undergoing palliative care. So, no, at the minute, I'm loving neurosurgery. 3 days in, obviously, but surgery is something that I'm definitely considering. But I'm very open-minded. I'm sure you've had people that you met on the first day of uni, and you're like, "Hi, I'm Vanessa." And like, "Oh, I want to be a neurosurgeon." You're like, "Oh, how? Okay." To me, like, I want to go in so open-minded to every single placement, and honestly, whatever placement I'm happiest with, and when I leave at the end of the day, I'm really happy and buzzing. That's probably what I'll go down. But yeah, surgery is definitely what I'm thinking of. I do love my geriatrics, but I've spent a lot of time with them. Like, I'm going into my 7th year of caring, so I think I might have to say goodbye to them. I don't think that'll be my main focus. And then pediatrics is very interesting, but I definitely think you'd have to do your placement. I think it'd be a very tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know, very open-minded.
I think it's very different as well, caring for someone that's elderly in the more kind of nursing home caring side of things, and then the medicine side of it. Again, you don't get to spend the time with them and make them the tea and make them comfortable.
Which I'm struggling with on placement. I was like trying not to make a bed today. I was like, no.
Yeah, because it's different learning, and but I think having that experience, being comfortable around people in that way, has surely got to be a massive advantage.
But whatever I go into, I just know for certain I want to travel with it. I think medicine's such a good degree to have, and when you're getting told, oh, you can do anything with medicine, I don't want to get love the NHS and all that, but I don't want to feel like as soon as I do F1 and F2, I'm just completely on this train track. I would love to do like humanitarian work. I really love to go and travel. So I think that'll be a big factor to play in whatever I end up doing.
And it is a long degree, and sometimes it feels like there might be a bit of a rush, but when you look back in 30, 40 years, I think you're not going to split hairs about, well, that 1 year, I had to rush and finish this qualification. You're going to think, oh, wasn't, my time in that country was amazing. And and there's so many opportunities. I don't know if you find the same, but medicine opens so many doors. It's so hard to choose what to get involved in.
Too many doors for people like us who want to go through every single door. I sometimes need them closed.
It's really hard to choose what opportunities, because they all have value in different ways, and they would all challenge you in different ways. So I think you'll be not short of opportunities to travel and get involved in projects. So if you had a top tip, I know we had a little bit of one earlier, but a top tip, for someone either thinking of applying or, current medic, what through your journey, what was the biggest thing you've taken away?
Probably a couple of things. One is definitely, do some work experience for medicine. It's okay if you're not sure you want to do it. It's a massive commitment. Like, I'll never forget, my brother always said he wanted to be an architect. He's really hands-on, so smart. And then he did a week of it, and he's like, oh, I hate this. He's now an engineer and loves his job. You're committing to a career for the rest of your life. It's okay to go and try different things. Definitely don't be hard on yourself if you're not sure. Looking back, I wish I'd probably taken more time after school to just kind of decompress. You've been on the same journey as everyone for so long. Decompress, kind of find out who you are, find out what you actually like and dislike, not what people have told you to like and dislike. And also really enjoy the time in medicine. I've never rushed through. I don't know about you, but I find even when I did biomed, people on the first day are like, oh, I just can't wait till I get into medicine and finish it. And I'm like, that's 8 years of my life. I really, enjoy your weekends. Get a job or whatever, but do some traveling. Just, don't look back. Don't rush through your 5 years. Anything could happen. in that time.
Yeah, I think that's something that you maybe have to keep reminding yourself when,
definitely,
the career path does look long ahead and there are decisions you have to make quite early. But if you're not enjoying your day to day, and if you're not, thinking, I get to be, in neurosurgery today, when I might not be back here, or, these are operations that very few people get to see, and just, I get to do that today.
Just go with your gut, that would be the best thing. It's always right, unfortunately, sometimes.
I think sometimes some people are more in tune with it than others, but you kind of, I suppose, have to just take everything as a learning experience, and it kind of leads you along a path, maybe a bit windy, but it gets there.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I can't wait to see what you get up to, and in a few years' time where you'll be, and what sort of project you'll be involved in. And I think your story will be an inspiration for a lot of people who maybe aren't sure where their path might lead, and just reassuring to know that it can still lead to medicine.
Absolutely.
What's right for them.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much.
Yeah.